So Sharon, we've had a couple questions from some of our property investors recently about if different pricing segments in the market are performing better than others for rentals right now. So in other words, if the cheap $1,000 or even less than $1,000 rentals are some of the only ones that are actually getting rented out, or some of the more expensive rentals are actually getting rented out as well.
Well, let me just say that first of all, in order to really establish a pattern, we have to look to see where we've been previously. So in the last year, in June, we had about 3890 internet views in all. And we had about the same number of showings as we had the year before. We were up in actual leasing activity from the year before. So when the COVID hit, we did what you usually do with any successful project. We regrouped and we made a lot of changes. We changed our way of presenting the houses. I think we talked about that before with the virtual tours, with 3D interactive. We made some different ways that you could see houses in hopes that it would help us in the long run, and I think it really has. Because this year, in the month of June, we had 14,665 internet views. That is up tremendously from last year. Now, clearly, it could be a product of people that just weren't out like they were last year working. But I think the majority of that change has been because we presented those extra ways to see houses. And in turn, we have seen a 30% increase in how fast it is to lease a house as opposed to last year. So in order to answer the question about the price ranges, I think it's very interesting to note that the houses that were leasing the fastest last year were anywhere from under 1,000 a month up to about 1,300. Those were our biggest price range. This year, that has been totally the opposite. And I think we can explain that by saying that a lot of those folks lost their job. So they were trying to stay where they were if they could until they got something else and got established. So our biggest increase, surprisingly enough, has been in between the 2,000 and 2,500 range, where people are pretty stabilized. They're already set in their career. If they're in oil and gas, they're not that segment that's been laid off. Now we are seeing some movement in our 2,500 to 3,000. It's up about 10% for this year. And the 3,500 and up, that's the hardest hit because that's the luxury market. But I think that's going to change because we are seeing that a lot of the oil companies that had their folks overseas are going to be sending them home. And when they do that, they've already leased or sold their own home out. So if they can't move back into their house, they're going to be looking to rent or to buy something else. So I think that will change as the summer moves on. I think it's interesting to note that we are up 20% in showings in general across all categories than we were for last year. So I would say that the rental market and the sales market are doing super well. I will tell you also as an extra note here in the Woodlands, the price range between $400,000 and $500,000 are getting an average of 5 contracts per house. So we have a huge market there that is moving big time.